everyone, and welcome to another LaserDude99 review. Today we're reviewing Hunger Games, Divergent, The Giver. It's just, there's so many teen book novels about a dystopian future that I'm having a hard time keeping them all together. So, yeah, just welcome to my review of The Maze Runner. What, I got it? Okay, good. The laser is 'cause I like sci-fi. I'm LaserDude99. Laser time and we're gonna do a review. Yes, we're gonna review. Let's talk about movies and comics too. Let's all go watch the I'm LaserDude99, and welcome to another LaserDude99 review. So, The Maze Runner. What do you know? We got another teen movie about a dystopian future that the young people have to find a way to take charge or something like that. I don't know. This is based on another teen novel. It seems to be like the only two types of movies that get made these days are movies that are either based on superhero comics or that are based on teen romance or dystopian future novels, because that's all the rage today. And I will try to look at The Maze Runner in its own right. I won't try to judge it and compare it to other movies that have come out, heck, this year alone. I'll just view it as it is, as a movie, and see if it's any good. So what is it about? The Maze Runner is a story about this guy named Thomas, played by an actor by the name of Dylan O'Brien, who basically wakes up in this elevator that lifts him up, and he has no idea what's going on, and then he reaches the top. There's all these young boys surrounding him, and they take him up, and he has no memory of who he is, doesn't even remember his own name at first, and he's told that all these other boys came up here the exact same way, through this gigantic elevator. They're not told they don't know what's going on. They don't remember a thing about themselves other than their name, and then they're surrounded by high walls that are the maze that surrounds this area. And there are certain people called the Maze Runners who go out into the maze and study it, trying to find a way out. But the whole world starts to change as soon as Thomas arrives. For what reasons? Well, that's what the film is for. I'm not here to spoil it. I'm here to tell you what my thought of it. Maze Runner is an interesting movie because on the one hand it's a movie that has a whole lot of interesting qualities to it that could actually, if dived in on a little bit more, could, reveal a whole lot of human nature. This could be a real good study on the psyche of human nature and how it adapts to the unknown and how different people will adapt to it in different ways. And it kind of is that, but it's only like scratching the surface. It's not really digging deep into those seated issues or to those psychological problems. It's scratching the surface. It's bringing up the questions. It's not really going deep into them. I'll just say that the look of the film is actually pretty impressive. The look of the maze is actually really cool. The maze feels like this thing that comes alive, and there's a scene where the maze is always shifting. It keeps on shifting its shape, so while they're mapping it, they don't actually have they won't always know what's going to happen because the maze is different all the time. And you actually get to see a scene where the maze is shifting while a couple of these guys are inside it, and that's actually really cool. The maze seems to become like its own creature. I wish we actually got a little bit more time in the maze, because it's amped up. It's like, oh, nobody can survive a night out in the maze, and you have to run it, and you have to try to map it, and it becomes this like foreboding thing. I just wish we had more time in the maze, because for a movie called The Maze Runner, you want to actually see some maze running. And when there is stuff going on in the maze, I'm intrigued and I'm interested and I'm curious on how this world works. And when you bring them back to the characters, there are some problems with the characters. Let's just say that. Let's start with the main character, Thomas, who, as I say, is played by Dylan O'Brien. He's not a bad main character because, you know what, we follow him, we sympathize with him, we can see him as a main character. He's not someone making stupid decision after stupid decision. He's thinking outside the box, and sometimes he's not thinking things fully through, but at least his impulsiveness is taking him forward on a character arc. He's pretty typical, though. He's there's nothing a whole lot to him that you can grab onto of, oh, I'm like that, or this I can see myself in this, or whatever. He's just basically a typical main character. Stoic, smart, leader type, but, is new, so nobody wants to listen to him. He has new ideas that challenge the ways that these people have been doing things. It's different, though, because in a movie, let's say, I don't know, I can't think of one on the top of my head, where a young person's new ideas are being challenged by the old society. The old societies usually have had traditions that have been there for thousands or hundreds of years or whatever, and they have to try to move on and move to the future. It's the young person trying to take them to the future. These guys have been in the maze for 3 years, and they have these established rules. And they're like, we won't bend on them ever. I'm like, it's 3 years. Your society, if you will, is still, forming. It doesn't have... I don't think you would have so much of a set thing in 3 years. But either way, that's not a big problem either. But the character itself, most of the characters, they're very typical. We don't get a lot into them, we have this other runner who, if I did not have his name written on this computer right here, I would not remember it. His name is Min Ho. He's played by Ki Hong Lee. He's one of the runners, and you know what? He's fine as a character, but I don't know anything about him as a character. What is he like? Is he... We get a scene where he's afraid and he runs away, but is he ashamed of that cowardness? Or is he someone who's really, really trying to be brave but is really scared to go out there or something like that? Why does he go out into the maze? What is the reason for him to be a runner? Stuff like that. And there's a lot of side characters that I'm like, are you supposed to be a side character, or are you just an extra that is there? Because I don't know the difference. There's a scene where... basically, I won't say why, but they need this guy says, I need some people to go out into the maze with me to get this thing, or to get something, and this guy, the Min Ho, comes with 4 people. He's like, will these do? He's like, yeah, that'll be good. And when they get to the place and grab what they need to grab, only 3 of them actually do anything. There's just a few that just stand there and look. I'm like, are these supposed to be characters? I have a feeling in the book, and of course I haven't read the book, big shock, but I have a feeling in the books these other characters were probably more dove into and looked at more with more character, and I'm like, well, we don't know anything about you, so they're pretty pointless here. If you don't have time to devote any screen time to those characters, either get rid of them or put them to the side. Don't just throw them in scenes and expect the audience to know what they're supposed to do and what their purpose is in that scene. Then you have a whole bunch of the other characters. You got Albie, you got Chucky or Chuck, you got and Gally, and all of them are cliches. Gally is the typical... and he's played by the guy who played Eustace in Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I'm glad to see that guy getting work, because he plays it well. I'm not saying... None of these guys play their roles badly. None of them are bad actors. But there's not a lot of meat on their roles. I mean, this Gally guy, he's supposed to be this guy that is following these rules, and he's really stern, and he's really strict, and he's letting the maze basically entrap him without him even going out into the world. I'll get more into the spoilers, because I think he handles his character well, but it's typical. It's a typical character of the guy who's like, he's the guy that wants to follow the rules and everything stay the same. And then you get the new guy that's coming in and he's going to change the way, but the other guy doesn't want anything to change. Yeah, I've seen that before, and I've seen it done better before, yeah. But it's not like this guy's bad at it. It's not annoying or anything. In fact, there's a couple of scenes where I thought, oh, they're giving him a little bit of depth, but there's not enough. You have Chuck, who is a kid in the maze, the youngest, and he's supposed to be like the emotional relatedness and the comic relief in a little bit of ways. And in some ways he is. There's some scenes he says something that's actually quite humorous and quite funny. In fact, I guess what I would almost say that he has the most depth of a character, you know? He's afraid. He likes to make jokes to cover his fear. He wants to help. He wants to be braver, but he's afraid of stuff. He wants to know his... There's a good scene where he's talking to Thomas and he says... And he's made something for his parents. He's like, I want to miss them, but I can't because I can't remember them. And that's a nice scene. I like that. But still, I would have liked more of that with all of the characters. I think that if you had more scenes like that with, not saying that you had to have them all emotional scenes, I would have liked a little bit more of depth with these characters. If they felt more than just this type of character. Chucky is the comic relief character. Thomas is the stern leader character. Gally is the jerk, old school type character. And Albie is the leader, the kind leader who eventually gets his thrown by Gally, whatever. Anyway, it's just I wish there was more to these characters. And the girl character, while she does serve a purpose in getting the plot rolling, was very forgettable. Let's see. As I say, if I did not have this here, I would not be able to tell you. Her name is Teresa in the movie. She's played by a girl called... Never mind, I can't pronounce that last name. Basically, she shows up one day and everything's changing and everyone's like, what the heck, a girl and whatnot? And I don't know, it's just she's pretty... I won't say she's pointless, because as I say, she gets some of the plot rolling and the ball rolling in the story, but I don't know a thing about her. I don't remember a thing about her. Which is kind of ironic, since this is the movie where barely anyone remembers anything. I will say that I like the world. The world seems very interesting, and I like how these guys made a nice society. There was one thing, when they were talking about Thomas was bringing up ideas like, have you tried doing this? And the guys are like, yeah, we've tried it. It was like, oh, one of the things he suggested, have you tried climbing to the top? He's like, well, the trees don't go to the top. You've been here for 3 years and you seriously have never tried to make a ladder tall enough to reach it? Oh, look, it's high. It's very high. I know, but not even like a bunch of stairs on the side? Nobody's thought to go on top of this thing? I don't know. That to me is just like, really? Really nobody's thought to go on top of this thing? I don't buy it. And the way the movie paces itself, the pacing's fine. The movie follows the 3-act structure pretty well, and there are some actually intense scenes in this movie. There's creatures out in the maze called Grievers, and their design is satisfactory. It can be a little bit threatening, but I don't know, it's very CG-ish, and not that the CG is bad or anything, it's just, I'm getting to the point where I'm sick of CG monsters, so seeing another bunch of CG monsters, I'm just like, whatever. I also wish they left some things out, there's a part in the movie where you see Thomas, he's sleeping, and he's having these dreams and flashes to some things. You see an older lady working over him, and you see him seeing the girl, Teresa, yeah. And basically them working together, and then he wakes up. Well, that tells us a lot. it tells us a lot, and by the end, when he has this big reveal to the audience, I'm like, well, that could have been a big reveal if you didn't show those scenes and, kind of give away the spoiler, and that makes it not so much of a big reveal. I remember I saw Jeremy John's reviews of this movie, and he said how the ending was really, really stupid. I won't say that, I was thinking of every stupid thing that it could be, and maybe that's why when the twist actually came, I'm just like, well, that's not that bad. I will say it's basically like this, though. Come on, you get a treat. Come on. That's it. Oh, boy, you got sequel. Yeah, it's blatantly obvious sequel bait, but I don't know. I'm not too, I'm not too offended by that because everything in Hollywood now works in franchises. If you can make a franchise out of anything, then you're set, right? Everyone wants the new Harry Potter or the new Hunger Games or the new thing. The thing is, you're kind of a little late. Hunger Games came out at the right moment. I mean, whenever anyone's gonna think of, what's a good movie that was based on a teen novel about a dystopian future? Are they gonna think Maze Runner? No. Are they gonna think Divergent? Probably not. They're gonna think Hunger Games. Hunger Games is the one that made it right and is making it right, and it seems to be doing all the right things. They're giving the characters more depth than the basics. They're giving them more of a character, and their stories are more, I don't know, adult is the word, maybe? There are some things in here that, in Maze Runner, that shocked me. I'll say that much, but, because there are some things you're like, wow, that's pretty intense. But it's not like anything I haven't ever seen before. There's nothing in Maze Runner that I haven't seen in Outlander or Hunger Games or heck even Divergent or anything. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little sick of white characters being the only main characters in these teen adaptation novels. I mean, look, if the character is white in the novel, fine. But here's coming from a white guy myself, and would it be so impossible to have one of these movies about a black woman? Or a guy, or a black guy, or I don't know. I mean, it seems to be everything is about Caucasian men and women. I mean, let's look at these past movies. Twilight. I don't even want to look at Twilight, but the whole thing is basically I'm not counting side characters. I'm counting main characters. Basically, white guys and girls. Hunger Games. Despite having some black characters like Lenny Kravitz's character, he's not a main character. He's a side character. The majority of the main cast is all white. Divergent. Only, colored character in there is one of the side characters. All white. The Giver. All white. I don't even think there is a side black character in that movie. And that's a black and white movie with a lot more on the white. And now we have this where, we have a black side character, but the main character is a white guy. Can't we have one movie where you have a different ethnicity as the main character? I don't know. It's saying something when even a white guy is sick of seeing his own skin color up on the screen as the main character. But that's just me ranting about something. That's not a mark against the movie, because the movie is adapting itself from the books, and if the books say that this character is Caucasian, then you have to do it that way, or else people will say you're not respecting the books. But here's the thing, if you're interested in seeing Maze Runner, I think it's fine, it's just nothing special. I mean, if you're a girl that's liking these teen, here's the thing, there's not a lot of romance in this thing, which I was kind of glad for. In fact, there's none. I mean, I don't even think the guy and girl kiss at the end, because, there's more important things to worry about, which, I'm glad that they have more important things to worry about. But it's like, if you're a fan of these types of movies, I think it's fine, it's satisfactory, but it's basically, it's basically paint-by-numbers teen novel dystopian future. Main character does heroic thing here, main character learns about society here, jerk characters does jerky things over here. You just fill in the blanks, and the movie is basically writing itself. And the director of this movie, whose name is Wes Ball, this is his first directorial debut. And I'll say, for a first-time director who hasn't directed anything in his past, not from what I could see from his movie page, I give him kudos for making an average movie. Usually a lot of directors, they direct some TV things and something else before making a big-budget movie like this. This guy, I don't know if he's done other things in movie business. I just checked his directing credits, and this is his only film that he's done so far, because he's, slated to do the sequel. So, I think that, kudos. I think it's just, the characters are really typical, and if they do make a sequel, and if I see it, I would like them to, because that was one of the things that I was hoping for, that when you have no memory, who are you as a person? Who are you? That's a question. That's something you could really... Are you a different person just because you have no memory of the person you were before? Or are your instincts of the type of person you were before going to come out? If I'm a nice guy and I lose my memory, am I going to become a jerk? Or am I still going to be a nice guy because that's what my instincts are? Those sort of things could have been brought up, they're not really. And I'm just gonna end this part of the review and give my rating. I will say The Maze Runner is fine if you're a fan of these types of movies. If not, skip it. You're not gonna miss anything that you haven't already seen in Hunger Games, Divergent, and basically every other teen novel movie that's coming out these days. So I'm giving The Maze Runner 5.5 out of 10. Just slightly above average. It's an okay film. When I really look at it, I say, is it typical? Yes. Are there parts about it that are not typical, that are a little bit better? Yes. So, does that make it bad? No, not really. It just makes it a pretty, slightly above average film. If I was to compare this to Hunger Games, not even close. Hunger Games wins out. It's just, on its own, it's just a typical movie. Nothing too great, nothing too bad. Here's hoping they get some more depth in the sequel. Okay, for spoilers, I don't have too much that I want to talk about. I just want to quickly talk about a couple of things. And one of them being, a lot of the stuff in this movie is pretty vague. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick and tired of middle-aged businesswoman as villain. I'm tired of it. I am sick and tired. I mean, Elysium, Giver, Divergent, and now Maze Runner. All of them have older, middle-aged women as villain. I'm tired of it. Get something else. At the very least, get a different race. I mean, middle-aged black woman as villain. That's Amanda Waller. Never mind. But you know what I mean. It's very, very typical these days, and I'm kind of sick of it. But I will say, the thing that bothered me is there's a lot of stuff that's not really explained, and it's pretty vague. How about the fact that this thing why did Thomas had to stab himself with the stinger and then with the syringe in order to get his memory back? Couldn't he have just stabbed himself with the syringe? Wouldn't that have gotten his memory back? I mean, did he really need to stab himself with the stinger of this scorpion thing? I mean, that to me, I'm just now you're just being melodramatic. You know, I don't think that's really necessary. And how much of his memory did he get back? Does he remember the whole thing, his whole time there? Or does he just get the basics enough that he remembers that he worked for them? And that was the thing. When he says, I am them, and so are you, Teresa. She's like, no, that's not possible. I'm like, well, yeah, it's pretty possible. You showed a whole bunch of scenes with him working in the dream. Sure, they flash quick back and forth, but it was still pretty obvious of him working for her, and you saw quick images of the other guys in tanks going, so, yeah, it was pretty like, oh, no, duh. That's not really a big surprise there. The ending with them taking them out and, I don't know, they were in a desert. Are you kidding me? I know there was like scenes like these, I don't know, there was some tubes or whatnot in the maze, and I guess that could have kept them cool, but you think they'd be scorching to death from the hot sun and not having a grassy plain if they were in the middle of a desert because of this burnt future. And we still don't really know what this corporation's plans are, and they're very vague. And I will say, okay, the scene where that guy Gally comes back and he says, we have to go back, that was a good scene. It was a good scene, even though I know, oh, the kid's gonna die. I'm like, no, this is a good scene because it shows someone who has accepted the maze so much that even when he's out, he wants to force everyone to go back in. And that is something that I think is really interesting. And you know what? He's kind of right. Life outside the maze looks horrible and sucks. He's in the maze. He seems to have a good life going on if they just get rid of those grievers. And by the way, when they called the place that they stay the Glade, I'm like, Arrow, sue something, will ya? Because the Glades is the slums in Arrow. But then I thought, wait a minute, the Glades is basically a ripoff of the Narrows in Batman Begins, so I don't know, it's a circle of ripping people off, I don't care. But even if it wasn't, that was just the first thing that came to my mind. I think that's all I have to say about The Giver, the Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner. That's all I have to say about it. It's typical, not really anything incredible, but nothing horrible either. I don't know, it's just, with all the other great movies that we've had come out this year, this one just doesn't really seem that interesting. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm LazyDude99. If I don't like it, it's not worth it. See you around.
Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more coming soon.